Hello. Welcome back to Unstoppable Actors if you are a regular listener, and welcome if you are brand new. I've got an incredible episode for you today, one that hits deep, one that actors know intimately, and honestly, it does not matter whether you are brand new to acting, you have got a lot of professional paid credits behind you, or you're returning from a break. Or even whether you've been at this 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 years, 20 years, whatever your experience is in this industry, this fear shows up for us all. Today, we are talking about the fear of getting it wrong. And if you've ever looked at a script and thought to yourself, what can I do? What if I cannot do this role justice? Or what if I mess it up? Or what if everybody realises I'm not as good as they think I am? Then you are in exactly the right place. And if you're new here, I'm an acting coach who specialises in method acting, and my mission is simple: to make your next performance your best performance yet. Now, before we dive in, I would love to personally invite you to something very exciting and very, very special. This July, we have got places available on our 10-week summer method acting module, The War Project. Over the 10 weeks, you step into the life of a real person from history. How exciting! You uncover what mattered to them, what frightened them, what motivated them, what they dreamt about. You are playing a code breaker in World War II, and this is an immersive experience where you live through them for 10 weeks, no scripts involved, and you get to experience what it feels like to immerse so deeply in a character that they stop feeling like a role and they start feeling like someone that you genuinely know. Now, for many actors, it is one of the most transformational experiences they have ever had, and it has flipped everything they know about the character preparation and character building process on its head, and they've created memories in this module that have lasted years and years and years. So if you want to find out more, just go to tinyurl.com/10-week method acting or hit the link directly underneath where you press play. Right then, are we ready? Let's talk about getting it wrong. Because if we are honest, most actors spend a lot of time worrying about this. And I need you to know something. The fear of getting it wrong is completely normal. In fact, psychology tells us something very, very fascinating that I think you are going to enjoy learning. So humans are wired to care about social approval. And thousands of years ago, our survival depended on being accepted by the tribes that we were in. And being rejected wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. And it could mean life or death. So what's happened is our brains have evolved to pay very close attention to what other people think of us. And this is to help keep us safe. And this still happens today, in this day and age. And when we add acting into the mix, we as actors stand in front of audiences, we stand in front of directors, casting directors, agents, producers, sometimes hundreds of strangers when we're on stage, sometimes thousands of people when it's through a screen. And these people are what are known as our tribe, or at least we want to be in their tribe. We want to be in this particular agent's tribe. We want to be accepted by this casting director. But when we are performing, what we're doing is we are asking them to judge our work. So can you see now why the fear kicks in? Acting doesn't just trigger performance anxiety. It actually triggers one of our deepest human fears, and that is the fear of social rejection. That is the fear that somebody will watch what we've done and they will decide, nope, not good enough. And then there's another layer. For actors, criticism can feel really, really threatening because our work is tied so closely to future opportunities. So if this audition that you're doing doesn't go well, will you get another one? If you get the role wrong, will you work again? If the director doesn't like your choices, what happens next? And it is no wonder actors overthink. It is no wonder we worry. And it is no wonder we desperately try to get everything right. I remember training in New York a good number of years ago, and I heard a story about one of the studio's 3 presidents. And this particular president that the story was about is one of Hollywood's most successful actresses. She has got awards coming out of every orifice in her body. She has got awards going on for days and days. I remember a good number of years ago when I was training in New York, and our tutor there at the time told us a story about one of the studio's presidents, and this president is an incredibly successful Hollywood actress, and she's got awards that go on for years and years and years, and her actor CV is, well, it's got more credits on it than I've had hot dinners. And do you know what her first thought is when she receives a script? Her first thought is, how am I ever going to connect to this character? How am I going to play this role? It's not, oh, I've got this. And it's not, yep, this is going to be easy. And it is definitely not, I'm brilliant, I've got awards behind me, I know what I'm doing. It's, how am I going to play this? How am I ever going to connect to this character? And at the time, I remember feeling oddly comforted by that, because it reminded me that uncertainty isn't evidence that you're failing. It's evidence that you're creating. And the problem isn't that fear shows up. The problem is what happens when fear takes over. Because fear loves certainty. Fear wants guarantees. Fear wants proofs. Fear wants to know everything will work before we even begin. And unfortunately, creativity doesn't work like that. Creativity is much more like you're setting off on a walk through thick fog and you can only see a few steps ahead. And yet somehow you have to keep moving. You have to keep trusting that you can keep going and getting to where you need to be. And this brings me to something from my own career. And this is years ago. I was playing a real woman from history. And she was an incredible woman. She had helped rehabilitate soldiers after the First World War. And there were books written about her life. So I could research and get to know her in a world. I could get to know her beliefs. I could understand her psychology. I could understand her motives from what was written about her. But there was one problem. There was absolutely zero footage of her. No videos, no recordings, nothing. Nada. And I became, in fact, no. There was only one photograph of her smiling. That was it. And I became absolutely obsessed with one question. And that question was, how do I know if I've got it right? And in particular, I was really heavily focusing on her physicality, so her walk, her posture and mannerisms. So what I did is I started observing people absolutely everywhere, walking through town, in shops, train stations. I'd pick someone out, I'd notice their gait and I'd think, right, maybe that's it. And so I'd try it. Nope, not right. So then I'd find another person, see their gait, see the rhythm, see the mannerisms, the posture, try it again. Nope, not right again. Then I'd find another person, I'd go through that same process, still not right. I'd find another person and I would just keep rinsing and repeating this same process. And honestly, I must have experimented with, I'm going to take a rough guess at about 50 walks, 50 different people I'd spotted. And eventually I became so frustrated, really frustrated. And I started feeling like I am never, ever going to find this walk. I'm never going to find this posture. And then I got inside my own head, as we do as actors, and somehow I felt like I was failing. And I started telling myself stories that I was failing and I couldn't do it and I was getting it wrong. And then I must have got so fed up with myself that I just stopped. I stopped following people and I stopped observing postures and gaits and rhythms of walks and mannerisms. I just stopped, not because I was giving up, but because I had absolutely exhausted myself and I had nothing left in the creative tank. So I stopped, and without realising, I gave it breathing space. And do you know what happened? The very next rehearsal, everything fell into place. All that work that I'd done, observing these people, hadn't been lost. And I was so excited. The walk just fell into place, the posture, the rhythm, the mannerisms, and then the accent just came out of nowhere, and the voice and everything clicked. And I was so happy. I was like, here she is. She has arrived. I'm so excited. But the big lesson in this is it wasn't because I'd forced it. It's because I'd finally stopped strangling it. And to bring us back to fear, this is what fear often does. It strangles the very thing it's trying to protect, because fear says, keep pushing, keep forcing, keep controlling, keep worrying. But great acting doesn't work like that. Great acting emerges when we create space, when we relax, when we trust, when we allow ourselves to explore. And one of my favourite ways of thinking about rehearsals is this. Rehearsals are not where you prove you are good. They're where you discover what works. And that is a completely different mindset. Just imagine a scientist running an experiment, and if the first attempt doesn't work, just imagine a scientist running an experiment and they're on the first attempt and it doesn't work. What they don't do is collapse dramatically onto the laboratory floor shouting, well, that's it then, I'll never discover anything. No, they collect information, they adjust, and they try again. And actors need to do exactly the same thing, because every choice that doesn't work is information. It's not failure, it is information. Oh, that doesn't work, so we'll park it to one side and we'll go again. So as always, I've got a challenge for you. And this podcast challenge for you is, the next time you find yourself worrying about getting it wrong, I want you to ask, what if this isn't failure? What if this is simply information? Then give yourself permission to explore, permission to experiment, permission to be uncertain, permission to make mistakes, permission to get it wrong. Because uncertainty is not the enemy of great acting. It's often where great acting begins. And that's a different way to think about things. And it's more freeing. It allows you to be more creative. And if you would absolutely love to spend 10 weeks developing that trust in yourself while stepping into the shoes of a real person from history, applications for the War Project are open. It is one of the most immersive and transformative modules we run. You build characters from the inside out. You challenge yourself creatively. You make mistakes and you learn from them. And you discover what's possible when you stop trying to get everything perfect and start allowing yourself to truly explore. And in the War Project module, what we do is we play a code breaker from World War II, and you immerse in that character for the 10 weeks. There's no scripts. It's full immersion. You take on their job, you take on the activities that they did, you take on the relationships that they did. It is so much fun, and it's truly transformative as well. You can find all the details at tinyurl.com/10-week method acting, and you can also submit an application on that page as well. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and trust yourself and trust the process. I am giving you permission to do that. And I'll see you in the next episode.